Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some people seem to jump to conclusions, seeing hostility where others see nothing? This new study dives deep into something called hostile attribution, and it might hold clues for how we can actually change that tendency. It is like exploring the hostile attribution bias. Imagine seeing someone's face and your brain instantly flags it as angry, even if it's just a neutral expression. Or when something ambiguous happens, you immediately assume the other person meant to cause harm. That's hostile attribution. This research asked if a specific type of mental training could help people see these situations less negatively. They tested this with 4 different groups: people in prison, young people who'd been in trouble with the law, university students, and even high school students. They had 58 people in total go through a short program. Think of it as a mental workout designed to help people understand their minds and other people's minds better. They called it a Mentalization-Based treatment module. This training lasted for 6 sessions, spread across 3 meetings. Before and after this training, everyone did a series of tests. One test involved looking at faces that were a mix of emotions, like angry and fearful, and deciding what they saw. This was to measure something called hostile perception. They also looked at pictures of ambiguous social scenes where someone might be doing something that looks a little bit bad, and they had to say if they thought the person meant it intentionally and if they deserved blame. They used a questionnaire with made-up scenarios, and then they even asked people to recall their own personal situations where something negative happened and judge the intentions and blame involved. So they were looking at how people perceived emotions on faces, how they interpreted ambiguous actions, and how they dealt with their own past negative experiences. Now, for the mind-blowing part, what did they find? Well, it was a mixed bag, but definitely interesting. For the test with the mixed emotion faces, the angry, fearful ones, things changed differently depending on the group. Young offenders and young adults actually got better at not seeing anger in those faces after the training, meaning their hostile perception went down. This is great news, but here is where it gets a bit tricky. The high school students actually saw more anger in those faces after the training. That is definitely not what they expected. And for the people in prison, the inmates, there wasn't really any change in how they saw those angry faces. They also started out with the highest amount of hostile perception. So for some people, this training helped them see emotions more clearly, but for others, it didn't seem to make a difference, and in one group, it even seemed to make things worse. When they looked at the ambiguous social scenes, no group showed a straightforward change in how much intent or blame they assigned for all situations. However, there was a complex interaction where how blame was assigned to peers versus authority figures changed differently across the groups after the training. So, the impact of the training on blame attributions was subtle and depended on who was involved in the scene. The most consistent positive changes came from when people recalled their own personal negative experiences. For these self-recalled situations, participants, especially young adults and inmates, showed a significant decrease in hostile attributions after the training. This suggests that this mentalization training was really helpful in getting people to evaluate their own past upset through a less hostile lens. The qualitative part of the study, where they looked at the written responses, also showed some promising shifts. In one scenario, hostile attributions decreased, and external attributions and mixed motives increased. That means people started to look for reasons outside of the person's intent or blame. Or they saw that the situation wasn't black and white. In another scenario, aggressive reactions disappeared and constructive responses went up. This is really encouraging because it shows a change in behavioral intentions. So, what does all this mean? The overall takeaway is that these short, psychoeducational mentalization modules can potentially change how people attribute hostile intentions and perceive emotions. It seems to work best when it helps people reevaluate their own experiences and when it targets specific aspects of hostile perception like angry, fearful faces. This is where it gets really important for practical application. The researchers suggest that these types of programs could be valuable for at-risk youth, including young adults and juvenile offenders. They are relatively easy to put into practice, and they don't require a lot of specialized training. This makes them a potentially accessible tool for intervention. Now, it is important to be critical. The study itself points out some limitations. The groups were pretty small, which means it is harder to be super confident in the results. Also, the study design didn't include a control group, meaning they can't definitively say the training caused the changes. Maybe people just got better with time, or maybe just being in a group helped. Plus, the COVID-19 pandemic meant some people did the training online and some in person, which could have affected things. In conclusion, this preliminary study is a good starting point. It shows that even short psychoeducational mentalization modules might help reduce hostile attribution biases, especially in young adults and juvenile offenders. It emphasizes that understanding and changing how we interpret others' intentions is key to improving social interactions and potentially reducing aggression. The multi-method approach they used is also a strong point, giving a more complete picture. Going forward, researchers should definitely try to replicate these findings with larger groups, a control group, to really establish causality and consistent ways of delivering the training, whether it is all online or all in person. And it would be great to see if these positive changes last over time. What do I think? I think this research is super promising. The idea that we can train our brains to be less automatically hostile is incredibly powerful, especially for individuals who are already in difficult circumstances. While the mixed results are real, the positive changes observed in self-reflection and in some groups' perception of faces suggest that mentalization training has real potential. It's a gentle but effective approach that focuses on building understanding rather than just suppressing behavior. It makes you wonder if even small doses of this kind of training could benefit all of us in navigating our complex social world. What are your thoughts on hostile attribution? Have you ever caught yourself interpreting a situation as hostile only to realize later it wasn't? Let me know down in the comments. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like, subscribe to Rubin's Mind Lab for more science insights, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the fascinating world of the human mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.